Hello and welcome to the What I Always Wanted podcast. I'm Victoria Hepworth and today I will be speaking to the photographer Nicola Taylor. Hi Nicola.
Hello there.
Can you start by explaining a bit about yourself and the background of your products?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a fine art photographer and I take self-portraits, which means I go out into the woods and I take portraits of myself in various settings. And my images are all inspired by folklore and fairy tales, so they're kind of very magical and they've got a real kind of story to them.
So how did you make the transition from being a stockbroker to doing what you do now?
It was kind of a bit of a long journey, actually. I was a stockbroker for about 7 years in the city, and I got to a certain age and I just felt that I was not particularly happy doing what I was doing, and it was time to make a change, but I didn't really have any idea what else I could do or what else I should be doing. So I knew that I was interested in being creative. I didn't know whether I could be. I didn't know whether I had any talent in that area. So in the end, I decided to leave my job with no real plan about what I was going to do next and just kind of see what happened. I took a bit of time off and travelled a bit, did a few courses, tried some different things that I really enjoyed doing. And I had a real connection with photography. I went and I did a course at the London College of Communication, and my photography just really kind of took off from there, and it felt like it was something that I should be doing.
So what do you enjoy most about what you do now?
I really enjoy being able to kind of be out in the countryside. Quite often I take all of my pictures outside. I go up onto the moors with my camera. And when I was a stockbroker, I used to spend probably 12 hours a day inside at a desk, and weeks and months would go by very quickly. I wouldn't kind of notice the changing of the seasons, but now, because I'm outside quite a lot, for better or worse, sometimes the weather makes it worse, but I get to see all the changes, so I get to notice when the first flowers come out, when the trees start to come into bud, and I really enjoy that.
So you obviously just mentioned the weather. Is that part of your inspiration for some of your pictures?
It is, yeah. The North Yorkshire moors is very changeable in its weather conditions, and it can be very dramatic as well. And that ties in very well with my pictures and the kind of themes of them. So I tend to use that a lot. So even if it's not particularly windy on the day that I'm shooting, I'll try and create that effect because I'm looking for a really dramatic image.
Do you have a favourite artist or designer?
I have a lot. It's really difficult to pin it down to just one person, but if I want to think about somebody who kind of really inspired me and really changed the direction that I was going in, it would be the fashion photographer Tim Walker. I remember when I was at college and I was in a class and the teacher just kind of singled me out and said, which photographer do you most want to be like and why? And the words Tim Walker came out of my mouth, and I think I'd seen like 2 or 3 of his pictures. I didn't really know a lot about his work, but the images that I'd seen had such an impact on me. And they've really kind of inspired me to try and tell stories in my pictures, really brings a sense of fairy tale and history into his images, and that's what I've tried to do as well.
Do you ever switch your creative side off, or are you always thinking of new tales to tell?
I'm kind of always thinking of it because I think a lot of people think that they're not creative, but sometimes that's just because we've kind of got a little bit lost. When I was working in the city, I wasn't creative at all on a day-to-day basis. I was just kind of getting on with my life, and I didn't notice the absence of creativity. But then when I went to art school and I kind of relaxed a little bit, it all came out of me, and now it's there for the most part on a daily basis. And if I slip back into a life where I'm not really thinking about what I want to be doing.
So what do you enjoy doing when you're not taking pictures?
I'm taking pictures most of the time, to be honest. I'm either taking pictures or I'm creating them in the computer. I use a lot of computer editing to combine multiple images. I don't draw or paint very well, so I do a lot of drawing almost by collaging different images together. I enjoy yoga. I'm actually a trained yoga teacher, so I do that too, but the vast majority of my time is spent on creating images.
Well, since releasing your work, you've had a very busy and successful year, but what stands out to you as being the best moment?
of exciting moments. I won a competition and I was selected to appear in a film by a BAFTA award-winning filmmaker, and it was all about 4 creative people in the UK. It was so exciting to be a part of that, and it was really interesting for me to see how a filmmaker works as well. He came to film me, and so that was great. And that film had its premiere during the London Sundance Film Festival, so we all got to go to the premiere, and that was just a really special moment.
Your work is ever adapting, but what do you have in store for us for the future?
Well, I'm still working on a series that I've been working on for the last couple of years, which is called Tales from the North Country, which is lots of little kind of separate images. They're almost like fairy tales. Each one's a little story on its own. And I'm still going to be working on that for probably the next year. But then after that, I'd like to create something that's a bit more of one big story with lots of different characters in it. That's going to be kind of a big project that's coming up in the future. But for the moment, I'm just carrying on working on the Tales from the North Country.
Well, thank you for talking to me today, Nicola. I wish you all the luck for the future, and I can't wait to see what else you have to offer.